Welcome back. If you're with us today, we are hitting for another podcast here. We had quite a bit of movement on the last one. I was very surprised with that.
Yes, we did.
We got up to over 150, which to me was good because we had like 49 the week before.
47, 49.
49, 44. Yeah. But we'll start off with telling everybody that we have gotten a few names in, or a few suggestions for names for the podcast. I think it's funny that 150 people watched it, but only about 5 people commented. So if you'd like the chance at winning $500, that's 5 with 2 zeros, go ahead and at the end of this or down in the comments below on YouTube, go ahead and put in your idea for a name. And if we choose the name that you put on there, then you'll win $500.
5 smackaroos.
Sounds pretty. I mean, it's a pretty nice little prize for not doing much, right?
The average person makes funny names about everything,
I know.
so it should be very easy for
That's
you
why I thought
guys
it'd be
to
a
come
good
up
idea
with.
to do it because, I mean, you and I could. I'm sure we could hammer out a really good name, but you know,
yeah.
this gives everybody else the opportunity to be part of that.
Nope.
Plus, it's a good write-off for us.
That is true. And it's it's out there, guys. Just like I said, throw it out. Throw what you got. Throw what you got.
So earlier in the week, I texted Larry and I said, Larry, I want you to come up with a topic for today, and we're just going to do random topics. He and I each chose a topic. In fact, I chose 2, and even as I'm speaking now, I'm not sure which one that I want to talk about, but we'll see. So we're just going to throw it out there and see how far we can go with it. This is sort of like what's the word when they have when 2 people are
The
on
banter?
stage? Well, not banter, but it's the improvisation.
Yes.
So we'll try a little improvisational podcasting today. So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Mine is probably it's not political. I just want to make sure people don't take this from a political standpoint. I think this is more in the vein of right and wrong, and coming from my stance, I would say more common sense. But it's involving the ICE raids. Yeah, I know it's a very, very touchy subject for a lot of people. A lot of people are very angry about what's going on. Should I get right into it?
Well, yeah, and it's happening all over.
It's
the United
happening all
States,
over.
yeah.
But it's not about the ICE raids itself. I feel for the people that are victims to it. I feel for the families that are being torn apart and things of that nature. My gripe with all of the whole things that's going on with ICE is the doxing of ICE agents. I think they have a job. As tasteless as they might feel it may be. We don't know if those guys are enjoying it or not enjoying it. Whatever the case may be. And again, aside from the political standpoint, I don't think if an ICE agent shows up at a place to do a raid and they're wearing their face coverings and they're there to action out a arrest warrant, and people are showing up there throwing rocks or bricks or whatever, and they're smashing things. To put those ICE agents in a situation where they say you have to take your mask off, you have to put yourself in a situation where you can be doxxed, where now people will know who you are, where you live, and they can carry on that aggression that they showed at that particular location now at your home. I don't think it's fair to say that they should be demasked, because honestly, if an ICE agent shows up at your home, if a police officer shows up at your home and they show what looks to be the correct credentials, if you see their face, is it gonna validate it any more or less that they are who they say they are? So having them take their mask off, I think is kind of ridiculous, a ridiculous mindset. And especially in some states where, government officials are pushing to pass a law for that. But if you see a crowd of youngsters walking into a Nike store with their mask on before they do a smash and grab, there's no emphasis on saying that they can't wear a mask in the street. So I don't know. I just think that's one of the things. It's more of a high horse, I guess, than the subject. But I just think that, ICE agents, they're employees. They're doing a job. They, no matter how bad it is, they shouldn't be victimized more than then they shouldn't be victimized because they're doing their job.
Right. They have a job to do. Well, some of the video footage that I had watched on this, there were people with masks on that didn't seem like they had any specific uniform.
Right.
And that's what bothered me about it. Not necessarily that they had masks on, but they had there's no like official ICE uniform, except maybe a jacket like the FBI has. They have ICE on the back. I don't even know if I've seen that.
They have them, but they're very rare.
But I've seen them in like hoodies,
plain clothes,
plain clothes and stuff like that, or fatigues and things like that. But no particular no badging, no stuff like that. And you have a lot of militia groups that dress kind of the same way.
Right.
So you wonder, and that's where I come in and say, well, is it a militia group acting as ICE, or is it an actual ICE group? And I think people might get a little bit scared or nervous. Not that there's any reason to, if they are ICE, to throw things at them or to, because like you said, they are doing a job.
Right.
They're taxing. Like you said, they may like what they're doing, they may not like what they're doing, but it's their job to do it.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're tasked to that, so they have to do that.
And I get the anger that people have toward it, and I get that concern too, where like you said that they come in plain clothes, or they're wearing, police. I've seen that some that just say police, or it'll say government agent. I've seen a lot of different things that they wear, but until I start seeing a case where there's a person that literally got picked up off the street in a white van, and they realize that person is actually really gone. Like they're not in a detention center, they're not somewhere else, and that person disappeared because they thought they were getting arrested by an ICE agent. I can see if that's happening, then that might start predicate some type of concern. But what's going to happen is the way I see things, the way things have happened historically is that we kind of set that seed. If we're telling people that, oh, well, these guys are unmarked and they don't have any identifier and they're just snatching people off the street, and then we find out every case that we've seen have been official acts of a deportation. Again, how tasteless it is, but they're official. There's going to be that one person that says, I'm going to kidnap somebody, and I'm going to pretend to be an ICE agent, because we're making this thing like it's huge. It's in the media every day. You're seeing it. Someone's going to come up with that idea, and then now you have a problem.
Yeah, and you never, that is definitely possible. And people when they look at television and movies and the way they depict it and stuff like that, it's definitely one of those things where it's like the idea is in somebody's head somewhere to do that. Now, as you started off with this conversation, you said it's not really, you're not doing it to be political. You're talking about the safety and security of these people that are doing their jobs.
Correct.
The reason they're having to do their jobs, though, is what looks like, and again, I'm not making a political statement, but decades of poor management at the border.
Yes.
Poor immigration policies. And it's not on the back of any one president.
No.
It's not on the back of any one political party. And it goes back to the days of Cesar Chavez, in the late 60s, early 70s, bringing in farm workers to do work that other people didn't want to do. And so it's been allowed to go on for so long that now it's at what a lot of government officials think is a very critical level. And that not only that, but we have people coming in. And again, to me, it's not about the farm worker. That's not the problem person that they should be looking at. It's not the person that's working in the clothing factory.
Right.
They say they're worried about Al Qaeda coming over. They're worried about drugs coming over. They're worried about rapists and murderers. How do you separate that so that do they want to get all the people that are here illegal, or do they want to get the bad people? Originally, I would hear they wanted to get the bad people.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to get.
Originally, it was the worst of the worst, which I think, and I don't know the whole background process of it, but I assume that when people were coming across, they file for asylum, they have to give certain information, and that information was backtracked to their home country, and people were determined, they found that they had criminal records, and there were people who apparently I think the president of Venezuela even admitted that there were some insane asylums that actually let people go, they're just so they can come here. And I think that at that point, that's when the government says, okay, well, these are the people that we're targeting. These are people that we know.
But if someone officially asks for asylum and it's granted, then isn't the onus on the government? I mean, because you've listened to their case, you've approved their case, you've given them asylum, and yet at some point they get arrested and sent back. And people have complained about the one gentleman in New York that got sent down to El Salvador that they say shouldn't have been, but he had a criminal record at some point. So it's like, I'll guarantee you, and I don't have any facts to back this up, but I'll guarantee you that we've granted asylum to some pretty bad people over the years.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we have. I mean, there's a lot of people that.
There were people that worked in the nuclear and bomb making, back in the day in Germany. That were bad people that we brought over here to work in that. So
they'll take their information because their technology was
because they
far
had
more
information
advanced.
we wanted.
Yep. I agree. I think that there's a lot of people. I mean, they talk about the 300 plus known terrorist gotaways that they don't know where they are and all this other stuff. At some point, if they know that 300 people crossed the border that were known terrorists or had associations with terrorist organizations, at some point they were identified because.
Otherwise, they wouldn't know how
they
many
wouldn't
there
know,
were.
right?
They wouldn't know there was 300.
There's a huge failure in the diplomacy and policy when it comes to immigration. Like you said, it's not just one president. We've all had issues. I mean, what did they call Obama? The deporter in chief. I think he like 5 million. Trump's probably more aggressive, and with his deportation, I mean, he ran on it. He said he was going to do it, and he got voted in. So it's not like it's a surprise that this is going on. That the main concern for me is the collateral, that's a big, I mean, because if you're going off of a guy and they show these guys, they show their rap sheets from their country and even stuff they've done here. And if there's a guy that's a pedophile that we've basically imported in here and he was a pedophile there and he's a pedophile here and he's gotten away and then now we're arresting him, the sad thing is he might be sitting with other people who are still in the same house. And yes, if you're in that house with that guy, you're gonna get background check, and unfortunately some of those people are getting deported too just because they were there.
Well, and then you got the case recently in Portland. There was a guy that they arrested, and he had been deported twice before and found his way back to Portland and continued to return to Portland. So he was deported from there, got back, deported again, and got back. And then he got arrested again. Yeah. And he's a bad actor.
Yeah.
And by actor I mean he's a bad person. Yeah. And yet they continue to come back. So some of them somehow know how to get back.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they do, and that kind of is disconcerting at the same time as well.
This definitely falls in the political realm. It's coming. Is the sanctuary states,
as Oregon is.
Oregon is sanctuary. California. New York, I think California, was it Michigan? I can't remember what else. There's a few other states that are, diehard.
There's 7 or 8. I think that might be wrong, but
yeah. But if you're putting diplomacy or if your idea of democracy and the constitutional value of these individuals is to bring them in and we'll figure out the pieces later. I honestly just kind of feel like it's a bad thing because everybody who's done it right, they're following the steps to citizenship.
Was it Clinton that started the amnesty program, where he was going to give amnesty to anybody who'd come forward?
A good question. I think it sounds about right. It sounds about the right time.
I wouldn't think it was Reagan.
It wasn't Reagan. No, Reagan
wasn't Bush. I don't think it was Bush.
It could have been Bush.
Could have been Bush.
Could have been Bush Jr. Could have been Clinton.
Yeah. But anyway, so they had this amnesty program where you could get amnesty for being an illegal immigrant, get everything filled out, and then, of course, go to the proper channels to get citizenship.
Right.
And it would seem to me that, again, I don't know what type of character we're dealing with that's coming from, these south of the border countries, but it would seem to me like that would be the way. And I think there's a lack of trust with the government. I think that's why it didn't go over as well. But it seems to me like that would be the way to go. Yes, come over.
Right.
We brought people in on Ellis Island. Yes, come over. But then it goes back to, on Ellis Island, do you have a trade?
Right. Yep.
Do you have a job?
You have to be a
do you have a way?
productive
Do you have a
citizen.
way? Are you physically capable of meeting a job requirement?
Correct.
And if they weren't, they were sent back.
Right.
They weren't allowed in. This was back 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like we've gotten to the point where, and I'm not against compassion for people. I'm a firm believer in compassion for people, but we've gone to the point where compassion has taken place over safety and security in some cases.
And even logic.
Not all cases, but some
Yes.
cases. And again, bad actors come in all the time.
Right.
But then let's go back to your original point about this. was about doxing ICE agents.
Yeah.
And about people that have a job to do, that were given a job to do, that are paid to do a job by the government.
Right.
And yet now they want to say, I want to know who you are. I want to know your face.
Right.
I want to know what's behind that mask. And again, if I would think, I don't have a problem with the mask if you can prove who they are.
Right.
You don't have to prove what they look like, but if you could prove that this is the agency I work for, this is the agency that has given me the instructions to come do this, that's one thing. But again, I wonder, when I see something, I wonder, are these people for real?
Well, see, to me, there's a simple solution for that. A very, very simple solution. Any agency, if the FBI is conducting some sort of investigation or whatever, they have to work with the local. That's what, because they have that type of
right. But because of the sanctuary laws, local law enforcement doesn't have to work.
But
in
now,
fact, in some states like this state, they're required not to.
Not to. And so, to me, that falls in the part of the government, because there is a law, there is a legal action to do what the ICE agents are doing. Regardless of, let's say, if this is not a sanctuary state, if the local police collaborated, then we always would know 100% guaranteed that the people that are there to do the raids are legitimate people.
Well, you also have the idea is FBI agents. Mm-hmm. FBI is pretty well notable. They have a uniform, they have badges, they have all that stuff.
Right.
You put one or two FBI agents with that group as a lead.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that'll be responsible. It's okay, their faces are known unless they're undercover, so it's like.
It legitimizes everything. And because I think it doesn't, like I said, I don't like what's going on with the raids. And it hurts me too. I do have a lot of compassion, but at the same time, I have a lot more compassion for somebody who's going to have their whole family possibly targeted for doing their job.
Right.
Well,
here's a good example. All right. Back in the 60s, we sent soldiers over to Vietnam to fight a battle, right? Wasn't our battle, but we were over there.
Right.
When they came back, they got treated like crap.
Like crap, yeah.
But they were over there doing their job that was constitutionally mandated. They were following the president's orders, and they're the ones who got crapped on, not the people who sent them over there.
Correct.
So this is the same thing here.
Killers.
These people are constitutionally mandated to do a job. I may not like it. I may not like the job they do. And, I'm not really affected by it because I'm not an illegal immigrant.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like they do have a job to do.
Yeah. And that's just the way I look at it. It's just, to me, it's just brass tacks common sense. They have a job. They're doing their job. If I seen where they were tasing people, usually when the videos I saw, when they're riding, they don't aggressively go after the ride. They leave. They will do whatever, and they will leave. It could be that trigger happy kid that got bullied, that decides he wants to turn around and pop a couple of rounds into the riders. That's not happening. This hasn't happened yet, but no. These guys they have their jobs. They cover their faces because they realize that if this person over here, especially the guy the other day that was shooting at him, when they did that raid, this guy over here wants to hurt me. He's throwing rocks. Now they're given the opportunity to know exactly who I am and where I live. Because you can just take a picture of someone and Google it, and then all of a sudden they'll bring up their Facebook post, their Facebook accounts, and everything.
Really?
Now
try that.
Oh yeah. No, you can face. I mean,
with AI now, yeah.
With AI and just a Google search.
But let me ask you something. Now, this is not really political, but it is kind of a way. All right. The situation with ICE today takes me back to overzealous police in places that we're familiar with, where a man was killed because overzealous police were being too aggressive, and specifically, toward blacks in several cases here. And so people are, pretty frankly, sick and tired of aggressive police tactics.
Correct.
And they feel like this is an aggressive police tactic. So whereas the situation's different because now we're talking immigration versus, a man who stopped for
a traffic
broken taillight.
Might even be broken.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So what do you say how do you feel about the sense that maybe people are just tired of that aggressive nature?
So coming from, and if you guys haven't noticed, again, I am black, and I've experienced.
You keep telling me that.
Someday you'll believe it.
I'm having a hard time believing it.
Someday you'll believe it. I've had situations. I digress, and this is one of my little stories. A friend of mine and this guy named Sean. We were friends. Lived in Redwood City. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we both worked at this computer store. He was off, so he's out there. He's got a T-shirt on. And I got my shirt with my tie because we have to wear a tie at work. And one of the neighbors complained about us sitting out there talking. So these two cops pull up in the car and they immediately separate us, which I'm pretty sure is standard operating procedure, right? So the other guy's talking to Sean, and the guy that pulls me aside, his first question to me was, and I am not even exaggerating this, when was the last time you were arrested? And I looked and I thought, this deserves a smart ass answer. So I said, well, let me check my punch card and see, I can give you the exact date. And he got livid. The guy reached out and he reached at me because he didn't like the response. I didn't like the question. You assumed that I got, and.
Do you have a punch card?
I should now. I will need one now once I get doxxed. Yeah. And then once I got pulled over in Richmond, and the cop pulls me over, and I have Richmond, California.
California.
And
because my first thought went to Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. No, I'd have been safe there, I think. Yeah, maybe not.
Are you safe anywhere?
The guy pulls me over.
Safe-ish.
Rookie cop. He pulls me over, and he's like, "Well, I see the windows. Your windows were tinted on your car." And I said, "Well, I got the car from Nevada. It's got Nevada plates on it, right?" Mm. He asked for my driver's license. I give him all that. And he comes back, and I believe that there's people out there that are bad actors, and they invite hostility from cops.
Especially when they say something like, "Let me check my punch card."
Yeah. So that like I said, that one I think I kind of had it coming a little bit. But this one, the guy, I give the guy my information. I don't give him any lip. I don't give him any guff. And he wants to give me a ticket for
Is this the same incident? Or this is
no, it's just totally different.
Okay. I'm thinking more.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm
skipping.
Okay.
Yeah, I went from Redwood City to Richmond.
Okay.
So yeah. Right. The guy hands me everything back. He wants to give me a ticket, and he's giving me this lecture about how the windows can't be tinted in California. I said, I get that. He says, I'm going to write you a ticket. I said, no, you don't. And he's like, well, I'm the one that's deciding this. And I said, well, first of all, you have to explain why you pulled me over. He says, I pulled you over because you have tinted windows. I said, but I also have Nevada plates. And he goes, what does that have to do with anything? And I said, you'd have to know that driving through California, if Nevada allows me to put a steam stack on the hood of my car and billow out black smoke, you can't stop me from here and doing that. The plates are out of your jurisdiction as a Nevada car. And he goes, but you have a California license plate. So I mean, a California driver's license.
But you didn't know
I said, but you didn't know that when you pulled me over. So he sat there for a second. And as he does, his sergeant walks up and I tell him the story. And he looks at the guy and he goes, just let him go, dude. You're not going to win this one, no matter what you do, So I think that might have just been a rookie, you know, but I don't think that had anything to do with race.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to you. And what happened with you and Sean?
Oh,
What was the end of the story?
so yeah, so the cop that pulled the guy that was talking to Sean came over and pulled him off and let him talk to Sean while he talked to me.
Yeah.
He just asked what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it just went away.
Yeah.
But but it's just like the
Now, Sean Black, too?
no, he's white.
Okay.
Yeah. So that guy was nuts.
So that's why you got off, right?
So that's why.
You were the white
Because I was
guy.
with a white guy. Always bring a white guy with you.
Oh, that's not Chappelle. That's Chris Rock.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Always bring a white guy.
And never run, because if you do, and they chase you down, they're bringing an ass whipping with them. But no, you get pulled over. Your cops. I don't have a reason. I mean, other than being black, I don't have a reason to fear the cops. So they pull me over. If my car's registered, I have insurance. I wasn't speeding. If I was speeding, I'm not going to argue about it because I know I got busted doing something I wasn't supposed to do. And if you lip off, you mouth off, and if you're not doing anything right, then yeah, you're going to have some confrontation.
But then it goes back to there are a few out there in law enforcement, and thankfully I haven't seen anyone here like that, but there are a few that will try to make it an issue.
Oh, yep.
And they'll try to light you up. They'll try to see what they can do. And I've seen videos on Facebook all the time with guys getting pulled over, and they're filming because they want to protect themselves, and they get treated like crap.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cops out there. I was used to work with a guy at a computer store, and he was an ex-cop, young guy too. He was actually pretty young. He was maybe not even a year older than I am, and he had left the force. I don't know exactly why he had left the force at the time, but he had left the force. But he did not believe that racism even existed anymore. And he was a cop. And I was like,
How do you not? How do you wake up every morning believing that racism doesn't exist?
He said that there was no such thing. He did not think, he's a white guy. He did not believe. And keeping in the vein of like people that I know that were police officers, I had one of my best friends when I was younger. His father was a cop in Berkeley, and he said, and that's Berkeley, California.
I didn't know of another Berkeley, so I don't know if there's any on that one.
But he said the whole time he was going through training in the force and everything, he said some of the guys would tell him, "Oh man, if I walk into a place and I see a crime, it's always the black guy." And so he walked into a bank one time. As a bank robbery in Berkeley, and he walked into the bank, and people are standing, and the alarm is going off, and he's getting ready to reach for his gun, and he said he's laser focused on the black guy in a t-shirt, and he walked up to the guy, and he got ready to reach for his gun, and he said next thing you know, he wakes up in the hospital. And when everybody told him what had happened, as he was focused on this black guy, there was a white guy in a suit that was actually the one robbing the bank, turns around and shoots him, but a bullet goes through his mouth. Ooh. And and at that point, he's like, he didn't want to be a cop anymore.
Yeah, I can see that. Did he have a big scar?
No, you know what? He did not have a scar. Yeah. He did not a big scar, but he had a scar. Yeah. But it wasn't a big. He always had a beard, so I could never really see it. Yeah. But he was a great guy. He was really a great guy.
So I don't know if we've exhausted that conversation, but that was a fun conversation there.
It was. It was. And it was hard for me to come up with that, folks, because some people see it as political, and we, like I said, we try to stay away from like politics, especially if you're going to be left, right, or middle of certain things. To me, it's just a common sense thing, and it kind of bothers me because I've watched a lot of news reels and stuff, and I see how some news media makes it as they make it seem like these guys are just coming in there and just grabbing people without saying who they are or anything like that, and pulling them out, and and they don't know they're ICE agents. And other people are saying, well, they're wearing uniforms, or they're doing this, but they're not giving all the correct credentials, and they need to show their faces and all that type of stuff. And even looking at the news from both sides, because they do report everything differently. You watch Fox and you watch MSNBC on the same story, and it'll be 100% different. Yeah. I know, to me, even watching both of those, the common sense thing to me is no matter who reports it, at the end of the day, I see people throwing rocks trying to hurt someone. And it may not be a gun, it may not be a knife, but a well-placed rock would do just about as much damage as any one of those two things. And these guys are just doing their job. It's not their fault. It's not like they woke up that morning deciding who they were going to pick up and how they're going to do it. There's a agency above them that are giving them directives, locations, names, list of who they're looking for. And all they're doing is carrying it out.
Well, and I think you kind of hit it as more than, and I hate to say this, more than a political thing. It's a news media thing. It can be a news media thing. And being someone who's in the media and writes news stories, you're very conscientious about how you tell a story.
Right.
You tell a story based on the facts that are there. You don't add your own spin on it, which I think a lot of news medias do, especially national news media.
Oh God, yes. Yes, there's some people out there just like, we just need to just turn it off.
Yeah.
Watch SpongeBob or something, because it will literally, it has turned people. There was a video that I watched the other day, and it's like the 74-year-old lady at this, she's at this anti-ICE raid, and this poor lady, she was just crying. She's like, I don't know. She's afraid of everything, and no one's telling her anything, and she's terrified. And I'm looking at this. I was like, it doesn't matter which side you're on. Like, that is terrible for that lady to live in fear, Yeah. And even if it is something that she might feel is justified, she needs somebody in her life to pull her aside and say, look, grandma, mom, we're turning off the news. We need to pull you away from this, because whatever her intake is literally, it reminds me of that that poor lady from the Twilight Zone that was in that house. And oh God, I can't remember the episode now. Or even the mother from that movie Requiem from a Dream. Mm-hmm. Jared Leto's mother, when she thought she was going to get on the game show, and she just completely lost her mind, and that's all she could think about. That reminds me of this lady.
Right. And if you're, no matter what news media you listen to, if you inundate yourself with just the one, that'll be how you form your opinions on stuff. And I don't particularly watch a whole lot of national news media, but if there's a story I'm interested in, I'll usually listen to both sides. Or all four sides, or all 10 sides, depending on, because it can be that different.
Oh yeah,
from one station to the next.
Yeah, I did a little test on YouTube the other day. I started pulling up stories that I know were all right-wing stories.
Oh, I thought you said all white.
It almost came out that way. I put this R in front of the W.
Yeah.
And once you go down that path, that algorithm will keep you on that path.
Yeah.
And it'll only give you right-wing stories. It'll only tell you things. You'll see Fox News. You'll see Sky News. You'll see, all these other, News Nation. You won't see the Young Turks. You won't see MSNBC and all that type of stuff. And I'll do that for a while. Clear the cache. I'll go back in and I'll look for something like MSNBC. I'll look up Joy Reid or whatever, and then it'll only feed you left-wing stuff. So you really have to, I always encourage people, look for both sides. Mm-hmm. People hate Fox, people hate MSNBC, but in order to really educate yourself on any one given story, look at both. Look at how they're being reported. Come to your own conclusion.
Yeah. And again, I miss, and I couldn't tell you because I don't listen to a lot of it. I couldn't tell you who a moderate, conservative, middle of the road news program is. I mean, the Young Turks, are they that? I mean, I don't know that. For a while there, they were coming up. They seemed pretty well balanced there.
They were for a while.
But I think all that changes when it comes to clicks. When they sit there and go, well, we need to make money.
Yeah.
Our advertisers, we need to make money.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a whole nother topic in mind, but I think we probably ought to shorten this up because we had a great conversation there. But I do want to talk about one thing real quick. Stephen Colbert.
Oh man,
have you seen that?
Yes,
they
I
have canceled his show, but he's on for another year.
Right.
Which is kind of weird. All right, and that all had to do with the CBS Paramount,
the merger,
mm-hmm. the threat against Trump of saying, I'm going to sue you. I'm not going to let this deal go through. What do you think about, the people in the media not being able to say what they want, or should they be able to say what they want?
I think people should be able to say what they want. But
even as a paid entertainer, I mean, because what Stephen Colbert does is entertainment.
He does entertain. I was a David Letterman fan.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. When Stephen
too.
Colbert took over, I really didn't watch it anymore after that because David Letterman never really got into politics.
Right.
It was entertainment stuff. It was stupid pet tricks, stupid human tricks. He did those type of things. And that to me, like Johnny Carson, was entertaining.
Well, Colbert's whole basis was off of politics.
Right.
His previous show.
Because he came from the Daily.
Not the Daily Show, whatever the show he called it. The Colbert Report.
The Colbert Report.
For the Colbert Report, which was a parody on a right wing who's actually a
Conservative type.
A left wing, or I don't know if he's left wing or not, but yeah. So, but then again, I'm thinking about, all right, you and I have a right to say whatever we want based on the Constitution,
right?
As American citizens,
right?
When you then get paid to be on television, when you get paid, are you under the same rights? Do you feel like I think because he's not a citizen at that point. He is an entertainer at that point. He's not someone on the side of the road that goes, hey, I should be able to say this, or I should feel about this. But what about when it comes to the paid aspect of it?
I think as long as if it's more truth than just conjecture, just their thoughts or whatever, and the humor, like that wouldn't bother me. If I was a diehard Trump fan and I was to watch that, and I would watch, say, like he's doing his monologue and it's all anti-Trump stuff, I would find it funny no matter what side I was on.
As long as it was funny.
As long as it was funny.
Yeah. I agree.
And it was if not even truthfully, like you said, a parody of something that actually happened.
Right.
But when you're trying to pull people away from their religious or their political beliefs, and just say they're pushing the Hitler narrative, he's Hitler and threat to them, no, that's not entertaining to me. That's kind of more towards an attempt of indoctrination. You're trying to get people on your side because now you're saying certain things that if it's true, prove it. If it's not true, whatever, then you're setting yourself up. But if you're cracking jokes about being orange or his hair, or opening up a KFC in that new Corsair jet or something like that, hilarious. I love that stuff.
Well, you've got Colbert's sense of humor, which is really tongue in cheek for the most part.
Yeah.
Then you got Kimmel, who is outwardly anti-Trump. Then you got The Daily Show, which The Daily Show to me is the most poignant when it comes to making fun of what's actually going on out there, and regardless of what side,
because they've definitely gone middle.
Yeah, he gone both sides.
Yeah,
and yet Jon Stewart's not getting the kind of feedback or guff that Stephen Colbert is, and I don't know. I mean, they say it's strictly a financial decision. But I don't know.
I kind of almost believe it is. Like I said, I never really watched Colbert. I watched him more when the Colbert Report. I've watched a few episodes, like when he's interviewing people, like comedians or new movie shows coming
people
out.
People that you're interested in.
That I'm interested in. Yeah, I don't really care to hear about Biden. I don't care to hear about Trump or whatever from any of these comedians and stuff. So I never really watched it, and I stopped watching The Daily Show when Jon Stewart retired. The first time when he left, because to me after that it was not even a good show anymore.
Yeah. Now that he's back, it's once again post-COVID. It's the highest rated that his show has been. But even though he's only on Mondays, that's the highest rating is the Monday show.
Yeah,
people still watch the rest, but the highest rating show of the week is when he's on Monday.
He's hilarious, and like you say, he does more of what you're talking about, where it's just basically making satire of things that's actually happening. Right.
But when he was away from the show, he was interviewing people and getting really staunch about his beliefs on gun control and things like that, and why we're not doing more for stuff like that.
Yeah, no, but he's a little easier to digest. I think it's a little less. To me, it's like a little less pushy on trying to make you pick one side or the other. Yeah. I always like Jon Stewart for that. Plus his comedic timing. What was the other guy that took over the? What was the black guy? That's the guy from South Africa. Trevor Noah. Yeah. I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I didn't like him. I didn't think I probably didn't give him much of a chance. I've seen him on other things I thought he was kind of funny on. I watched one of his stand-ups and it wasn't too funny to me. And I think it's just his comedic timing just wasn't near what Jon Stewart's were.
Well, I would like to know, and I don't know if any of our listeners would make a comment in the comments. I'd like to know how many people out there actually watch the whole show. How many people see the snippets and the sound bites on Facebook and on Reels and things like that? Because if I'm going through Facebook and I see a reel and it's Stephen Colbert and Ricky Gervais,
Right.
I want to watch that.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch the whole thing.
But I don't want to watch the whole show. I may not watch the whole. Same thing with Jon Stewart. I really like Jon Stewart, but I might not watch all. Actually, I probably watched more of Jon Stewart before he quit. And I watched more of the whole show because he had some amazing guests on there.
Yes.
But post that, I think, and I'd like to know what other people think. Most of what I like doing is getting the snippets. I don't want to watch the whole. I don't necessarily want to see who's the musical entertainment is. I don't necessarily want to see it. I just want to see the interviews.
Agreed.
And see who's talking, because that's usually where the most poignant stuff comes out.
Agreed. Yeah. Even like, what's the other one? Bill Maher is another one.
Now, Bill Maher, it's really interesting. He used to be so left. Then he went pretty much middle of the road.
Yeah.
And then after he had dinner with Trump, it's a whole different, it seems like
he switched.
Yeah. And it's not, again, you watch his other show that he has where they're sitting around and he's smoking pot all the time.
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff in there, but not all of it is. And I used to like listening to his humor on stuff because he'd attack both sides.
Yeah.
He would attack both sides. But now it's more like I'm not real humored by him anymore.
He's I think, and because I've watched a lot of snippets of him too, and I think that one of the things that kind of may have shifted him is that I think in order to stay relevant, instead of pulling people interviewing people who were always going to side with him, he started pulling people from the opposite side and started having those kind of live more debates. And I think he was interviewing the guy that starts Dana White, the guy that started UFC.
Yeah.
And they were talking about California, and Dana White doesn't like Gavin Newsom either. And I think he was talking about Gavin Newsom, and Bill Maher was talking about how great Gavin Newsom was. And Dana White says, well, what has he ever done that was great? And Bill Maher's sitting there, maybe he was high, but he couldn't come up with anything. And he goes, I don't know. He made it rain on a Wednesday or something like that. And then, and I think a lot of those guys are putting him to task, and I think they're making him kind of see things from a more broader.
Well, and two, a prepared event and interview like that, a Bill Maher needs to be ready for that question.
Yeah.
You need to, if you're going to say, hey, so-and-so, is good, you need to be ready with an answer for that. And if you're called out on it and you don't have an answer, it makes me wonder, just a little bit.
Yeah. Why are you back?
Why are you so for him if you can't give a reason for him?
I mean, there people will ask me why I don't like him, and I'll tell them it's like it has nothing to do with him being a Democrat or if he was a Republican or independent or even was it America, the new Elon. I said, I live there, and I just realized the taxation, the things you get taxed for, and some of the laws they put there, like that daylighting shit that no one even knows what that is. And I never even heard of it until one of my friends told me they got a $1,500 ticket that they could not fight. And I'm like, what is daylighting? And when I looked it up, I was like, they passed this and no one questioned this law?
Well, the bad thing about it is it goes through the House and Senate of California, and it passes.
And before it passes.
And so Governor Newsom's just the last one to sign it. But a lot of other people approved it before Gavin Newsom got it. Oh, yeah. So why aren't they yelling at all the people that got to where it got to his seat to begin with?
I think because it involves money, I think that that's why they look at him. Oh, yeah. I mean, so what daylighting is, right? Mm-mm. Daylighting is when you park at an intersection, like if you're parking your car and you have the stop sign, and then you know how they paint the curb red so many feet from the stop sign. Right. If you park within that red zone, you get a ticket. But if there's a crosswalk, you have to be 20 feet from the crosswalk. Now, if you're not parked in that red zone and you stop, you put your bumper.
You're talking about parking, not about stopping at a stop
parking.
sign. So like you're on the curb, you're parked.
You're
Okay.
parked. You're
Yeah,
parking
yeah,
your car. You leave it.
Yeah.
There's no signs. There's no signs for daylighting. If you park and let's say they come out with a tape measure and they measure from that intersection or that crosswalk to your car, and if you're within that 20 feet range, it's a $1,500 or $1,300 ticket. You can't fight it.
Now, I understand that's excessive, but I understand the reason for having that rule.
So you can see people that's getting ready to cross the street.
Yeah, and of course, like we have big RVs here in town that'll park close to, and you can't see the stop sign.
Right.
And people have driven through the stop signs because you can't see it till you're up on it. So I understand it, but the excessive nature
Paint
of
the
the
curve. Paint the curve 20 feet.
Yeah, well,
and then you problem solve or
Yeah.
put a sign.
yeah,
They don't do that.
yeah.
I mean, to date,
Right.
when
And
I
understand.
last heard,
they're
yeah.
trying to generate. Revenue.
Yeah, and that's the thing that that always gets me, the gas taxes and stuff like that, and then registration. I had a 2013 BMW and I was paying $380 a year to register that car, $380. Then I had to get it smogged, and because of all the smog tests, I think it went from I remember it was $19 smog checks, it was like $200 or something like that now to get a smog check, and I have to do that every year.
Well, you're going to get me started about being taxed upon taxed upon taxed upon tax, and I don't really want to get into that right now.
Yeah, we're not trying to start a tea party, folks.
Because I'm already feeling it. You pay tax on one thing, and then you pay tax on your money when you get your check. Then you go out and you pay tax on your gas when you get. All right, Don, don't get me started.
And then if you sell something that you brought, if you sell it and it's cost a certain amount you got to pay taxes on the stuff that you sold that you already paid taxes on when you bought.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's I don't know. If there is a civil war, it's going to be over taxes.
Well, that's how the first one started. That's how we got here in the first place. Well, man, that's been a great conversation. I don't want to get into what my topic was now. We'll do that. Save that for a later date. But that was great. I like that. I hope you like that. Yep. Don't forget, comment down below if you have an idea for the name of our show. Comment down in line below, and if we pick your name, $500 will be in your pockets. $500. And again, we'll have more information on that after the show. I think we'll call this Ice Raids will be the name of this one, because that's how it started out.
Ice raid etiquette. No, what would you call that?
I don't know, but we'll figure it out. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Put in the comments below your suggestion for a name for our show, and you could win $500. And if you want to email, you can email George at georgehenryradio.com or Larry at georgehenryradio.com. Either way, we'll get your suggestions there, and at the end of the month or the first of the next part of the month, we will choose a winner, and you'll get to name our show. So do it now.